Hi, I'm John Timmerman. Let's grip it and rip it.
I'm Rob Shauger. Sell crazy somewhere else because we're full on that shit here.
And I'm Cutri, and I'm obsessed with new sneechies.
And we are the co-founders of the NoBull company.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Snugglestorm.net, the only legitimate and professional cuddling service in North America. Safe, secure snuggles. Seriously.
What's up, Buzz Nation? Welcome to I'm a Little Buzz, the show where we bring a ridiculous amount of life to business, all while sharing a glass of whatever gets us buzzed. Fellas, what gets you buzzed this afternoon?
Cafe Cubal coffee in this fancy free tin.
All right, we like free tins.
Yes.
Robert?
I'm drinking tequila this morning. I'm just looking for the worm.
As you should. Keep looking all day long. I'll call you around 4 o'clock, see where you're at.
Start looking for
I got
the
it.
worm.
Got the worm.
Got the worm.
Yeah, got it.
Smaller than I thought.
Nailed it.
But crunchy,
That's a little worm.
nonetheless.
It's a lot smaller.
Surprisingly little worm. Yeah, black coffee for me out of the Yeti that Sir Rob Shauger bought for me. Thank you, sir. I use this thing
You're welcome.
literally daily, sometimes twice a day. Sometimes coffee in the morning and bourbon at night.
Bourbon at night, multi-purpose.
These things are amazing.
Do you know, after you got me this, I was so, I am not a good consumer. I don't get things and, they blow my mind. I get super
I thought
excited.
I saw you bought another one.
I have bought them for everyone I know since that moment.
The Yeti?
Like Father's Day, bought my dad one. Bought my father-in-law one. Then went and bought the ones that you can drop a can into.
Yep.
Screw the top on.
Oh,
Bought
yeah,
one
yeah.
for my father-in-law also.
And now they're hooked. They're obsessed.
Bought some friends' birthday presents. Yeah, I can't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop.
So cheers, coach.
Yes.
They've come a long way.
I
Yeti.
just wait till people give them to me for free from golf tournaments.
Yeah.
So
Well, technically,
That's what happened.
this is exactly what happened. Rob gave it to me for free during a golf tournament.
there you have it, full circle.
Fittingly enough.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's rock and roll.
That's it. Okay. So today's show, we are talking about events, gatherings, and other social businesses, and what the frig do they do during the pandemic. We are well into this pandemic. I think 4 months in. March, April, May, June. We are 4 months into this.
Going into month 5.
And we're halfway through 2020, which is a blessing.
Yeah. So things have gotten crazy. People have adapted. I don't want to say they've settled down, but people and businesses have adapted.
Yep.
And we're starting to see the second wave. I don't know if we can call it that yet, but we're seeing resurgences.
Yeah. Changes,
Parts of the country.
adaptations.
Yeah. So we don't really know. Nobody really knows. So we're going to spend today talking about events, social businesses that usually facilitate gathering of people, and what they're doing, some cool examples, what we're doing with our little shindig here. Rob, do you know any businesses locally to you that have done some cool shifts to keep going and surviving?
Yeah. So my friend Michelle Klosik, she owns 3 bars/restaurants in the Utica market. One of which is the Stief, pronounced a couple different ways. They are super well known for all this crazy list of wildly awesome martinis, and so when that happened, they converted their drinks into the adult size fun. Drink pouches like Capri Sun or any of those things that that your kids would have. The regulation with that is that you'd have to buy food, but they really kept their business going fairly well through COVID by doing that.
Drinks in pouches, what's not to love?
Yeah, pick it up and go.
Yeah, and who are the people that did that
Just
first?
unzip it before you get home.
Right? I know. I would totally unzip it in the car. I'd be like,
Yeah.
there's no question about it.
I want somebody to have the punchy straw, the Capri straw.
I could
actually
never. I always used to puncture
somehow.
it through the back. Always.
Yeah, and then
I
when
was
you get it,
terrible
when
at
you
that.
ruin it and mangle it, it's done.
And
you
then
have to
gotta,
go get a
squeeze it
knife
in
or
your cut the top off and.
Yeah, actually, for a little while there, Well, I guess this is still the case. You know the boxed wine? It has like the pouch
Yeah.
in it,
Yep.
and it's got like the
screw?
thing. Yeah, in college, idiots.
You saved those?
Obviously, no.
Did we fill 'em?
But we would get rid of the box and just have like
just the
like
baggie?
squeezy baggies like laying
bladder.
around the bladder. Yeah, we'd have the bladder. Yeah,
Oh.
that just got a little made it sound a little
What,
gross.
did they call it that? The
Yeah.
bladder?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. How about the bag?
and the bag,
Like-
the wine bag. We used to just carry those around like freaking like back in the day when they had like the drink pouches because
Yeah.
they didn't have plastic or metal. They had like sheepskin.
Uh-huh.
It was the modern day Camelback.
Yeah, literally.
Do you remember
We used to bring those to parties just to be idiots.
in do you remember in like elementary school the milk pouches? The milk
Oh, yeah.
bags?
Oh yeah.
They literally looked like a breast implant,
Yep.
but filled with
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Oh.
They laid flat. Like they looked like a silicone breast implant, but filled with chocolate milk, which could be the best thing ever. now
Rob, did you
that
have
I
those
say
when you were when you
say
were
it
a
out
kid?
loud,
Or no,
And you
they,
had to
they
pop
came
it,
in.
like-
They came in. Probably after you were out of like
did you
middle
have
school.
that?
The little plastic pouches full of milk.
You know what I'm talking about?
No,
Totally
but I was
clear.
thinking of like, are you guys old enough to remember the beer ball?
The beer ball. Never heard of it. Beer ball?
I've heard of it, but no, it was gone. It was gone by the time we were drinking beer.
Yep, the beer ball.
So the plastic milk pouch is basically like a square plastic pouch
Yeah.
that they'd fill milk in. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, why did they do that? Like,
It was a
ironically
movement.
enough, was it to save trees?
I don't know
Like they
what
moved
it-
away from the cardboard to go and save trees, but ironically now they created more plastic that
I don't know what the purpose was.
then ended up in the ocean or whatever.
Yeah, I hated them though. I hated them. They were,
They're complicated.
and it's like,
Yeah.
and then it would.
Good old milk carton. Good old
Yeah.
fucking milk carton.
carton.
What's a beer ball?
What's a beer ball?
So the beer ball was kind of like a plastic version of like a quarter keg.
So a giant,
I'm sad we missed that.
giant
People
milk.
would empty them and make like lights out of them or lanterns and crazy crap like that.
I'm
Like,
gonna look up a beer ball.
Yeah,
yeah,
look,
look it up.
that's insane.
Yeah.
So, anyways, drink pouches. I have yet to see a drink pouch. Like, is that the Steve you said it's called? But a lot of bars, restaurants. So actually, sadly, I guess for them, but last year at the beginning of the fall last year, this new brewery opened up like a quarter mile from my house called the Freight Yard, and they opened up to like wildly like popular in this area. Like people will go. It's really cool. It's right on the train tracks. Like it was an old actual freight yard, and they have great beer. Well, this summer, they were probably gonna crush it. Then COVID hit, but they did to go crowlers. You guys know what a crowler? You know what a growler is?
I don't know
Yeah.
what a crowler is.
Crowler's
Crowler
the
is
can.
the large can.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they had been doing crowlers before, but they bought
Oh, I see.
like 6-pack or 4-pack holders. So you know how you get a 6-pack and you like hold it from the plastic?
Yeah.
Well, you could go and they'd fill your crowler with whatever beer you want, and then they'd have those plastic like freaking whatever holders on the top until you're walking out with this giant 4-pack of
cool.
Yeah.
beer, and they sold a ton of those. I went in for Father's Day because I bought my father some.
Yeah.
He likes their beer, and they're like, "Oh man, we've been crushing these things."
Yeah.
So
Your father-in-law is very
Innovation.
well hydrated.
No, my father.
Oh, your father.
yeah,
Like,
although he's very
both
well
of your
hydrated,
fathers
too.
are hydrated. You get them cups and mugs and liquid.
Yeah, although
Always.
Although they're all very dehydrating liquids.
Oh, right.
Beer and coffee and liquor. So maybe they're the opposite. Maybe I should buy them a bottle of water.
I would get him like a subscription to like
A Brita.
Yeah,
I'll get him
something.
One of those
Get your
Britas.
own water.
But so the people, the restaurants that made that move early on, Exo Taco was one of them. The 1st thing they did was like, how do we sling our margaritas out the door?
Yeah.
And that was the big move for restaurants that got, that were affected. And then in recent news, at least in our state, Governor Cuomo, love him or hate him, whatever. He, as bars shut down again, and then as there's penalties for, bars are getting their liquor license taken away because they're not abiding by the rules. One of the first things that was like granted and extended during these like reclosings was you can still serve liquor curbside.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah.
We're in like the complete opposite of prohibition.
Oh yeah.
Like where that was like you can't sell liquor or booze anywhere.
Yeah,
like this is like booze will never go away.
Never. Like people are selling it out of their trunks.
Yeah. Yeah. They realize that
because that's what makes people happy.
If we can keep everyone a little bit more sane, hate to promote drinking, but for whatever, some people it's just fun.
It's what it is.
It's what it is.
So good for the restaurants that are doing all that, and for the ones that aren't, God, I would like make something up.
Yeah.
I would be like, we have no special drink, but
so I
this water is really good.
Read
like our water's the best in the city.
I read an article recently of a bar owner who I actually know very well. Was talking about how there's some bars and restaurants that are following the protocol and like following what they're supposed to be doing and keeping people socially distanced inside, and then there's other bars and restaurants that are totally like just whatever.
Yeah.
Like we're totally back to normal. And he's like, well, what's happening? Like what's going to happen is they're going to make decisions about liquor licenses and things like that based on the group.
Mm-hmm.
And if bars and restaurants aren't following the rules enough that people start getting sick and they see resurgences, then they're going to make decisions on the entire group, and then that's going to hurt the ones that are following the rules. So he actually, this was an article in our local newspaper, which I haven't read a newspaper in like 10 years, but my parents still do, so they give me newspaper clippings and shit like that. But anyways, it'll be interesting to see the adjustments that government and local government, state governments make based on how people respond to this. I mean, I'm sure you guys... So, listen, like, we're now filming this together, right? And obviously, I mentioned, like, what happens if one of us gets sick? And we're just like, oh, well, that person just doesn't come back.
Ever.
You're banned.
Done.
We're banned. One of us are banned from being buzzed.
Are we comfortable?
But
I'm fairly comfortable.
I feel good. I feel good, like,
Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like...
No. Like, out of all three of us, like, Rob, you would be the one that I'm going to ask probably most frequently, like, how you feeling? Because, like, if you're going to get back out and have meetings after meetings after meetings after events, like, you're going to be the one who's exposed to more people than me. Like, I'm not going... Like, one of my clients literally has messaged me, like, 3 times to, like, get together. And I'm just like...
Hello, do you know how to spell pandemic? Fuck.
Yeah.
I get mad.
I mean, everything I've been doing has been outside. I don't think I haven't really had it. Well,
although
yesterday I had a meeting inside, but for the most part, everything I'm doing is outside. Like, so finding a cafe where we can sit outside and talk.
Yeah.
But again, like asking Rob, like, how you feeling? Like, it doesn't matter because he could be feeling just fine, and our podcast, and then boop, now we all have COVID.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter how he feels.
Well, it does.
So like,
there's the 2 to 14 days, right? So that's like the window that they've seen that people get sick, right? And again, we have no fucking idea. Nobody has any clue.
Right.
But it seems like what they've seen is people who are asymptomatic. It's like highly unlikely that they're going to transfer it. We'd have to like make out right now, like to like transfer it, or like blood brothers or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas just breathing wouldn't do it. Again, we don't know, but like that seems to be the consensus.
Yeah. So I gave blood last week. They're going to tell us if we have the antibodies.
Oh wow.
Oh, they'll tell you.
That's great. That's next episode.
Yep.
Really?
We'll get so give blood, free juice and cookies.
Hey.
And you get an email within 2 weeks that tells you if you have the antibodies.
So I actually got tested probably a month ago to see if I had it because I was starting to get like a cough, and it was like at the beginning of allergy season. But I'm like, I'm not gonna. I have a newborn. Fuck whatever my brain says. Like, I'm just gonna go get tested, and it was negative. And by the way, if you get tested,
did you do the nose thing?
I almost threw up on the nurse.
Oh, did you?
Physician's
I'm sure
assistant.
she loved that.
She told me, she's like, okay, it's gonna feel a little uncomfortable, and I was like, oh, well, like just sticking a swab in your nose. She goes, well, it goes up, and I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
She goes, all right. She goes, 1, 2, 3.
Zoop.
Slides this thing not up to like the thing that stops right there, but like up around it, all the way up.
Oh,
It felt like it was touching the bottom of my eyeball and swirls it.
Can you imagine Al doing that?
Al would have thrown up and shit his pants at the same time.
I would have been like, I would have just been, I don't know what I would have done. I'm not good with medical stuff. I'm just not. I mean, I can take a lot of stuff, but I just, no.
Yeah, it was very, like, my eye was watering for 10 minutes after that. She kept saying, she goes, I'm very sorry, I feel terrible when I do that. She goes, no, dude, it's not your fault. She goes, are you okay? And I was like,
I mean,
I just can't open my eyeball.
There's got to be a better way.
I did see a picture. They're doing like those drive-in testing sites across the country in certain areas, and I saw a photo on whatever news website yesterday, and it was like this lady in her car, like
she had them both
in her seat like this because they were reaching through the window and doing it, and she's like, oh, she's like mid gag.
Oh,
well.
All right, so back to topic here.
What else we got?
We're still talking about the pandemic.
Chocolate milk breast implants.
So I got a cool. I was doing a little research on this just to kind of figure out what other businesses are doing and what they're, what moves they're making. A company in New York City called Shop Jet Fast. What they would do is they were like a local grocer delivery, commercial restaurant delivery, food delivery service. So they would run around the city, deliver all the food.
Yeah,
it's like Cisco or I don't know what's it local Maine's Food here locally, like their commercial delivery. But they obviously all of their clients just like went away overnight. Like who are you going to deliver food to when restaurants are like closing down or like cutting their orders by 20%?
Sure.
So I read this article and the founder was already thinking about how do we expand the business. And last podcast, we talked about how this pandemic has shot everything forward like a decade.
Yeah.
Well, basically, they were forced now to dive into what his next sort of iteration was, which is to create sort of a DoorDash, a local
commercial,
not even to consumers. So real quick, they took their website and I think they made an app really fast, and people in their area could order food directly from them. And now they were taking the restaurant's food and delivering it directly to the consumers.
I see.
So they took their same clients, who they already had the connections with. They said, "Okay, hey, when what's your menu look like? Blah blah blah, whatever. We'll put it into our app," and they created a successful business to which they're still.
But how are they competing with the DoorDashes and the Grubhubs? And I mean, that's a tough.
I don't know. It didn't really say, but
Good for them,
but it's like, to me, because they're local, it's probably a relationship thing, right? Like,
right.
Do you guys watch the show Billions?
I have seen like a couple episodes, but not enough to.
The billionaire hedge fund dude, he's got the same pizza shop that he goes to that he grew up with. He always goes back to that same pizza shop. So I feel like it's sort of like that, right? In New York City, you have the places that you go. If you're not a tourist, you have the same places that you go.
Yeah.
And so if they're like, oh, order my food on this app, that's the one that I would use.
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I have to figure that that's sort of how it's rocking.
Yeah.
But also found another article of some interesting ways that when the pandemic first started, that companies pivoted. I didn't know this, but some airlines like Virgin Atlantic and I can't remember the other ones, because nobody was flying anywhere, they started shipping cargo in their passenger planes.
Yeah.
Chickens, livestock,
Chickens?
Chicken.
I don't know.
the old movies with the cargo planes.
I don't know.
What movies are we watching here?
Think of like Indiana Jones. You're trying to get to this country, and you're sitting on a crate with chickens running around.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Snakes on a plane.
Oh nope, let's not go there.
Nope.
So yeah, airlines, they were carrying cargo instead of people. Restaurants, we saw some of this here, selling ingredients like cook-at-home ingredients.
Yeah.
I don't think many of them are doing that anymore because they're opening back up. But These are all great examples of pivoting.
Yeah.
Like, there's no... I mean, you guys know I have a wild imagination. But, like, for people that don't, you need to, like, grow one. Or, like, open up your mind a little bit.
It's survival. I mean, I don't know too many. I only know a few places that really went on pause in a real way. And I can only imagine that they did that because they were so successful that they could afford to really go on pause and wait out some things. But other places that were newer businesses or only a few years old and they didn't have a 30-year history bankrolling, kind of giving them time, it was like immediate.
Yeah.
There was no pause at all. It was like pivot, figure out the new formula and move.
Yeah.
Because you'll die. Like, you will die if you don't.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about that the other day where I think, Al, you had mentioned it, where there was a restaurant that rather than jumping right back into opening up, they waited 2 more weeks, work out the kinks.
100%. And then they leveraged that time to build a lot of press around how good of a job they did at prepping their restaurant for the new regulations and the new separations and all the different things. Because that particular restaurant, which Francesca's is local to us, they are known for the culture there and for the atmosphere, and they have probably one of the best outdoor seating patios in our area. And there's no way that they could sacrifice the atmosphere and culture of the restaurant for some regulation. So they were like, listen, we need to preserve this. They waited 2 or 3 weeks past when they were given the green light to open. Everybody else was opening because that's all they were waiting for. And Francesca's basically said, we're gonna go on pause for 3 more weeks or 2 or 3 more weeks, and then build a lot of press around it. They were on the news. They were this. There was So I thought it was a real strategic move. And everybody's got their own power play that they do. Whether you're
film
first
a show there, we'll go live from Francesca's patio.
Dude, if we could film our show from Francesca's patio, I would be in paradise.
Damn, that brings you full circle. Good Monster started with a show I had with my previous business partner called Project Rock City, where we did that. We went inside restaurants, and we did a show where we ate their food, talked to the owners. It was awesome. And then Good Monster was born from that, actually.
And I think in some ways, not for everybody, but in some ways it was easier to function and conduct business inside of the COVID and the full shutdown. Once you knew what the rules were, you could do that. Now, there's all these unknowns of how are we going to conduct things? What can we do? What can't we do? Who's offended by how you decide to handle yourself and conduct things? How do we, I was planning on doing all of these leadership speaking things prior to COVID. Who's gonna be comfortable, even though we're allowed to go back outside, and coming into an enclosed hotel conference room right now, and be okay with that? So I'm like, where do I find some other options? So I actually found this really cool outdoor amphitheater that I'm going to be able to book for an event in September, where bring a lawn chair and a notebook, and we'll get back to business. Who cares where we're sitting, And
I don't know about your area, but I would bet you're going to be first to market on that. You're going to be the first guy who makes that a thing. Outdoor business conferences, at least to your area. I'm sure they're done all over the place, different cities that I don't know about, but I would bet you're first to market, and it'll turn into a thing.
Hey Buzz Nation, are you a Gary Vaynerchuk fan? How about David Meltzer? Those are 2 badass dudes, and we have a host of other amazing speakers coming to NoBull 2020 2.0. Do you want to know how you can get a free $250 ticket? Do ya? All you got to do is head over to empathywines.com, purchase any 12 bottles of their delicious wine, red, white, rosé, 12 bottles, that's a case, and type in the code NoBull 2020 at checkout. You will then earn a free $250 front section ticket to NoBull 2020 to watch Gary Vee, David Meltzer, Constance Schwartz, Marini Shea Rowbottom, and a host of other amazing speakers. So head over to empathywines.com, type in the code NoBull2020, and you will earn a free ticket. There is a limited number of these left, so head over there. And free, like Al's hair after he takes off his hat in a cool breeze. That free. NoBull2020.com for more details. You know who's crushing it is Healthway, IntelliPure. I forget the guy's name locally here.
What's he doing?
What do they do?
Air filtration.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Stanley Steamers too.
I have been. I follow him. Vinny.
Is he a trainer?
No, he's the owner of the company.
Oh,
He so his family owns Healthway family of companies, and they've had these for years. Like, he's the second generation. But what they do is they make one of the things that they do is make these commercial, and maybe they make consumer versions now, air purifiers. But they're made right in Pulaski, so USA made. Have met him briefly. Oh, you know where we met him? Freedom of Espresso downtown. We were having our meeting.
Oh yeah.
He was at the table next, and I was like, "Oh, that's got his card."
Yep.
That's the only time I've met him. But I see him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I remember that.
His company, number one, is exploding because all around the globe they do business everywhere, China and Asian markets and everywhere, and they've done it there. I don't know their numbers, but probably more because like China's air quality is dog shit, and so they've been installing their stuff in hotels and everything. But I just read that now some of the requirements for malls to open back up is going to be that they have they have to have a certain level of air quality or whatever it is.
Right.
And his company, like, that's exactly what they do is they install these in these massive hotels and shit like that. So that super interesting to see that this wasn't planned. Obviously, pandemic wasn't planned, no matter how crazy of a conspiracy theorist you are. I was like, I don't know about that.
Was it not planned?
But exploding their business, and probably going to continue even after this, because people are going to be like, okay, well, maybe coronavirus we can deal with because we have vaccines and therapeutics now, but like, what's the next thing?
Right.
I want to be prepared for the next thing. Oh, and I don't want to get the flu or colds, and this can help reduce that. So, unforeseen opportunity in certain industries.
And cultures of fear. Like, fear is a very, I hate to say it, but, fear creates a lot of opportunity for business.
It's like our grandparents in the Depression, and the whole generation lived penny pinching because of that fear it might come back, right? So
it's another one I saw kind of similar to that. This dude named J.P. Kidwell, he owns a company called Airwell, is doing all of the duct cleaning. So whether it's your dryer vent or commercial duct work, or so people are super conscious right now of, as you were saying, the air filtration.
Yeah.
But also cleaning out like the air that they're breathing. Like, his videos are like unbelievable. The crap that's coming out of these ducts.
That's a
so
really
everybody's aware,
Yeah.
That's a really good example. Taking a hop and a skip over to my world at Good Monster, of a company that is doing what all companies should be doing right now, which is putting out as much content as possible. So, right, this guy JP is putting out content about, hey, did you know this is in your duct? And could be I want to go watch his videos now, but the amount of mold that's probably in our houses just circulating.
Shit, Stanley Steamer's been doing that for years. They don't advertise it like as much as they should because they're all about carpet cleaner.
Yeah.
But they've been doing duct cleaning for years, and it's like the stories that that I hear from those guys are like, it's gross, bro.
Here's one piece of free advice for anybody watching or listening out there. No matter what your business is, start posting videos on LinkedIn about the negative things that people are going through in your industry, like the problems that you solve. You'll generate a shitload of business.
I thought you were
right
going to
now.
say clean your ducts.
And clean your ducts.
I thought for sure you were going to be like, clean your ducts.
Clean your ducts. I need to clean my ducks. But yeah, like that's the game. Like that is the simplest way, and ties back to what we're talking about. A lot of companies were so scared that they basically just pulled back on everything. All marketing, all like external expenses, hiring freezes, all this kind of stuff.
Sure.
So you have businesses that were in one of two areas. Number one, they were smart and had a really good business model so that they had some cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Business number two, not saying they weren't smart, but maybe their margins were like 2% or something crazy small, so they couldn't even survive 2 weeks without applying for PPP.
Yeah.
And trying to figure that out, right? So the businesses that did have a little bit of a runway, I guess there's a third business and your business wasn't affected, and you kept going. Right. So if you were in business either 1 or 3, like once you got over like, okay, how are we going to navigate this? The best thing that you could have done as a company, regardless of whether you were moving forward or not, is to put out tons of content.
Yeah.
Because the content consumption, as we talked about in our last show, went through the roof.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn videos literally have brought Good Monster business, have brought some of our clients' business, have brought some of the people who I saw jump in, have like Rob, like your leadership. Now is not too late. Like dive into the LinkedIn videos. It's the best possible thing anybody could do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the businesses that did that are reaping the benefits now because they're the first ones people think of. JP, they're the first person somebody thinks of who's seen their content when I'm freaking out because I have mold or possible coronavirus flying through the air.
And industry-wise, we could take different industries. So we originally, like this episode, we're originally started to talk about events, the event space, which is still a very intriguing space because it's like I'm really intrigued by it. So there's a variety of different types of events and event venues that have had so let's start with the bars and those places as event venues. They're shut down. Musicians can't play there. They can't have people. There's nothing they can do. They can't really do any sort of streaming thing. Although they attempted to, that was only for the benefit of the musicians.
Yeah.
It was a favor to them. Like, you can come and play a show here, but like it's got to be social distance and like it's just for branding. But there's no real benefit to the bar.
Yeah.
The musicians went on Venmo and did whatever. I know a couple guys in Nashville that were playing it. They were doing live streams from Tootsie's.
They actually went into the bar.
They
played,
went into the bar, set up live stream,
Yeah.
and they were doing that for all these bands that they have big time relationships with. But it wasn't, other than branding for the bar, to be one of the first bars to be like, oh, we're still on, brand wise.
Yeah.
Well, they're not making any money.
Yeah.
They're just doing it as a branding play. So there was that industry. Then there was like the conference industry and the business conference industry and all the big, event type stuff. Those are dead, but then they immediately pivoted and switched to virtual events. So all of the virtual companies that could run live streams and do virtual events all went, kaboom.
Yeah.
And most of those events, including ours to a degree, like immediately looked into the virtual option, switched over, made the quick switch, which was smart and necessary because you can't just like close up shop. You can't just fold up and die.
I was just going to say, I think some did.
Well, some did, but I mean, that's a tough decision because...
Or like canceled indefinitely or something.
Right, so there was a ton that took that path. And it's no different than the restaurant business. It was, whoever had the staying power to survive did. And they switched over and they made the pivot. Whoever didn't, they died. And unfortunately, it's a sad thing. And hopefully they can come back at a different time. But what I'm really curious about is like companies like Live Nation and all the concert companies, like, and maybe I don't have enough research on this, but there's nothing they can do. Like they're promoters essentially. They don't own the venues, right? So like Live Nation provides all the contracts and shows for locally here, the amphitheater and the fair, different things like that, right? What do they do? What do companies like Live Nation do in terms of pivoting? Because live streaming, you can watch Zach Brown on YouTube all day for free.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't pay $140 for a ticket to watch him on YouTube.
Yeah.
How do they pivot, and how are they going to survive if this lasts 18 months and there's no concerts and there's no anything? The artists will survive because they're getting all of the other income streams that they have, the royalties, the whatever. Still hurts, but like the promoters, where they don't own the venue, they can't pivot, there's nothing to live stream. That's what I'm really curious about. Like, what are they gonna have? What's gonna happen?
So it all boils down to this whole like fast forward a decade. Like, that's just what happened, because what the internet has done historically and is continuing to do is squeeze out the middleman.
Yeah.
Right? Think about before social media and the internet. Justin Bieber needed Scooter Braun to come in and get him to these places.
Yeah.
Then you have Russ. You guys probably don't know Russ. He's a famous like hip hop guy who has never had a label.
Macklemore never had a label. Oh, and now he does.
He did eventually.
He got to that point without the label.
Right. So now there's this mixtape, culture where they're just literally putting it out on YouTube, and you can go direct to SoundCloud, you can go direct to Spotify.
Direct.
You don't need anybody. You put out a good song.
Yeah.
And
TikTok.
Boom. It blows up. So there's no more middlemen. So for event promoters, like it might change once we go back to
the
live
event
events.
promoters are important in the context of venue.
Right.
Like, then you need them.
Right.
But 18 months of no venue, what do you do?
Yeah.
Like, how do you pivot as a promoter?
I would start organizing these online events. Like, that's the first thing I would do. Is I would pull in resources and bands and whatever, and have them do like a live stream concert. Figure out other ways to monetize it than tickets.
Right, because who's going to buy tickets?
Unless everyone really like this is where my mind initially goes. Is I would have each of those artists. I would only bring on artists who are willing to release new music on that actual live stream.
Right, like
so it's brand new music that they can only get right there. And so that would be one way you'd get some diehard fans to pay for it.
Yeah.
Maybe even giving that people shout outs. Mm-hmm. Who signed up, like, so who are attending, like the first 100 people, like, we're gonna actually give you like I love you, Al Cutri. And I was like, oh my god.
I just got excited
until he cut his hair.
Yeah,
I know, I cut my hair, now I look like Alan.
And with black hair.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, like, pivoting is necessary, and I don't see it
that interests me.
I don't see it stopping anytime soon from an event standpoint. I mean, look at the pivot we took. For those of you out there listening or watching, we had our event September 17th.
2,000 people projected.
Yep, all in a big conference area. We pushed it back as far as we could. I mean, we didn't push it back. We held out as long as we could, seeing what was going to happen. Al, you were like, I don't know, like, I think we should just push it back. I was very much like, well, let's wait and see. It got to be April, I guess, April-ish, and we were like, we got the advice of our venue, talked to some other people, ended up making the decision to push it back to April 8th, which, God willing, vaccines, therapeutics, something is
God willing.
is
I mean, who
happening
knows?
by then.
Really.
But then we decided to have our virtual event anyways. We decided to have a virtual event on the same date,
just to keep momentum.
To add more value, to keep momentum. It's free, because tying into what you said, like, who's going to pay for something where they can go watch somebody on a video on their YouTube or something? But like, we're adding the tactical piece to it. So it's not just like, hey, here's my story.
Right.
There's like a lot of people get. This is like, here's a worksheet of tactically how you handle inbound marketing to grow your business. Mm-hmm. So getting that for free, and when you'd have to go, I was actually just writing the copy for the NoBull Digital Workshop for like our new website and everything, and it sort of clicked and dawned on me. People are charging $199, $399, $499
for my
my online course. And then what they'll do is they'll get you in there, and then they'll upsell you for $2,999 for 12 months of training. Like, that's how this online course thing works.
And it works too.
Yeah, we've taken a few for. I haven't personally, but my team has taken one on copywriting for comedy videos, like comedy marketing videos, and that's exactly what they do. $199 to get into the 12 phased program or whatever. You get 12 emails and 12 videos. The third video in, it's, hey, this is good. This will get you 20% of the way there. But if you really want to, it's $1,299.
Yep. Tony Robbins is doing this right now with the 7-day comeback challenge. I mean, it's over now, but I participated in it. Completely free. Like 7 days.
Yep.
Of Tony. Now, if you sign up to go to like a Unleash the Power Within Tony Robbins type of thing, I mean that's, I think the 6-day pack. That's like a $5,000 package. Now, granted, that includes everything. You go to Miami or you go to whatever, but we're talking thousands of dollars, and I think it's worth every single penny. Don't get me wrong, but because of the culture, what's happening, he was like, I'm going to do a 7-day thing for free. Completely free. And anybody that knows the value of that, I mean, he had 500,000 subscribers on like Zoom.
Oh, like attending the thing?
Attending, right. 500,000 people attending digitally 7 days at a particular time. Now, granted, he put it up on Facebook so you can access it.
Plus, it's got millions and millions of subscribers and followers.
Right. Like, I mean, it's Tony Robbins. But the point is like he gave that away for free. And then, of course, like if you wanted to be a VIP and be on the actual Zoom with him, like he offered, I think, 400 spots or 300 spots to be on the actual Zoom call. And it wasn't like you just watching it. So, like, he could see you and call your name out.
Yeah.
All sold out, and those were like, I don't know, maybe $300 a piece. So do the math on that. And then now he's offering another 4-day course for $500 after the 7-day because you're all jacked up and pumped up from the I mean, it's a great model if what you're offering is actually great.
I was just gonna say,
I'll buy it all day.
I want to go back to like me describing it. I feel like my tone was like sort of demonizing it a little bit, but I'm not.
No.
If it's valuable, like that's just growing a business. Like that's not scamming people. Like there's a difference between like there's people that do that offer, a bunch of value and then they'll hook you into this shit.
And in the context of COVID, like the online content, like you would have done that in person, typically, but
I mean,
make the switch.
So the copywriting course I just talked about, like it's from the people who basically invented you remember the Dollar Shave Club video?
Oh yeah,
the one that basically launched them.
Yeah.
No,
super
our razors aren't
and
good. They're fucking great. That thing. Yeah. They didn't write that one, but they are the ones that wrote. There's a purple mattress. Poopery.
The ad agency.
They did all of those videos.
Poopery.
Yeah. So they are the first ones to do this style video successfully. And so basically now during COVID, they're like,
teaching you.
We're going to teach. Maybe they decided to do that anyways before.
Right.
But it's valuable. It is worth $199. And we're not doing the amped up version, but it's probably worth $1,299 to learn how to do that. The amount of revenue that you can grow your business with.
Yeah. I mean, everybody is in a different spot, but $1,000 for knowledge is nothing.
That can possibly bring hundreds or millions.
It's nothing.
Hundreds of thousands or millions.
Think about the shit you spend $1,000 on. People go buy like patio sets for $2,000.
Yeah.
Like, that's great, and I love patio sets.
Yeah.
And I will hope to have a really nice one someday.
Yeah.
But
it's an expense, not an investment.
It's just
wants versus needs.
Yeah.
Wants versus needs.
So on this concept, like pivoting with events, like that's a good example. Like the Harmon Brothers, that's their video agency.
Right.
They launched this during COVID, and they I'm sure they were planning this before, because how could they have produced all of this in that short amount of time?
Right.
But maybe this is the whole fast forward thing. Maybe they had planned on launching this next year or whatever, but they're like, all right, this is the time to do it.
Now.
We're not filming any new stuff because we can't go near anybody. Our big brands their marketing budgets are shrinking and shriveling up or drying right out. So let's go do this thing. Let's teach everybody how we do it. And I bet you they've made probably over $1 million on it, I would imagine.
So let's talk about, though, the companies, and we are one of those companies that we are babies. Like, we're brand new. There's no history of the event. There's no proof of success, although we have the names and the social proof. We've got Gary Vee. Like, that's great, but you can go and consume Gary Vee's content online for literally a month straight and still have, like, it's endless. It's an endless supply of content from Gary Vee. The allure is like seeing him in person on stage, him looking at you, talking. That's the allure of any in-person thing, whether it's a concert or a. How does a company like us, and of course we're working through this and for the sake of conversation, or any baby company that there's essentially no audience yet, there's nothing there to pivot on.
Yeah.
Like, what do those companies need to do? What do we need to do every day that we try to have success in this weird time?
I think, like, so
that we can't have a stage.
That's exactly the pivots we've taken, right? So let's go through the timeline for anybody listening here. Maybe you can kind of take from this. But so we started NoBull from Rob's idea of launching an event. So we had NoBull 2020, and we were going to be an annual conference that turned into a large-scale South by Southwest. That was our business model.
In person, on stage, see it, feel it, hear it.
2 days next year,
rah.
5 days the next year, whatever, grow.
Yep.
So as we started to go build this thing, I started to introduce the content side of it. Like, hey, we should, start to build this into a media company. We should start to do this, like planting little ideas.
I actually can't remember. Was that as a result of seeing what was coming, or was that which came first? Did that come
in my mind? I don't remember. Rob, maybe you remember.
But we started a podcast first with no video.
But was that as a result of COVID, or was it as a result of?
Nope, that was before.
It was before, right?
Yeah. It was all part of John's original vision.
The vlog, remember?
Oh, the vlog.
Yep.
So it was like these little bits and pieces to start to grow the media company. But COVID hit, and that's when then we were like, okay, what are we going to do about the event? Oh, maybe now's the time to turn into entrepreneur.com, Inc. magazine,
right?
Vice.com, right? And that's a pivot that we took, right? So the virtual event thing, like, that's sort of a smaller pivot. That's like a stopgap. We're providing value for free. It's tactical. It's not the
I'm not
it's
even
not
sure
the
if
energy driven.
I'm not even sure if, and it's a little bit of a pivot, but I would consider it like a bonus.
Yeah.
Like, because we want our audience to feel like, hey, not only are we sorry that the whole world collapsed, but like, thanks for buying tickets to the event. Yeah. Sorry about postponing it.
Here's
like,
some free value.
Here's a bunch of free, amazing value.
Right. Added value.
Right. But the big pivot, whether you want to call it a pivot or not, it just fast forwarded us creating a media company. So now,
but it's a much different model.
Then we formed the NoBull company.
Yeah.
So it's not just NoBull 2020 anymore. It's now the NoBull company that has events, but we also have a podcast. We're going to have many more podcasts. We're going to have video shows. We're going to have articles and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So for any other company out there,
baby companies that have
they can't take the
year
same
one,
maybe pivot, but if it's an event company, create content. Like, figure out a way. I think the sweet sauce, like, getting to that, is figuring out the equation of providing value and making money. Like, you got to figure those two things out. How do you monetize the value in a way that's not pissing people off or turning people off? Right? So if you go too hard with the hook on an online course, like, hey, here's this stuff for free, but then when people sign up, you're like dangling it, people will sniff that out, and that's scammy.
Yeah.
But if you're actually delivering value, like, let's be honest with our audience here. Here's what we're doing with our digital workshop. We're providing actual tactical advice from $100 million business builders.
Right.
You can have it all for free.
Yep.
Here's exactly how you do it. And then what we're doing is we have a special VIP section towards the end of the event that you can only get access to if you buy tickets to our live event. So we still have that sort of upsell, but you can also go buy a case of Empathy wine,
and do that
and get access to that also. Like, so we're giving so much value and only asking for like just a little bit.
Right.
But then we're also giving you a shitload of value for that money.
But I also think that that's well within the realm of normal upsell across the board. Like, I don't think
that's what I mean. It's not scammy.
People
it's
are
not
used
like
to that.
It's not like we're gonna be on there and like, hey, here's the top 10 ways that Rob Shauger that Rob Shauger says to like manage your personal finance, and then we give him 5.
Yeah.
Or 5.
Almost.
I just held up 4 fingers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
John's teaching the math course.
Here's how to get your education.
And if
John
you want
Timmerman.
the other 10.
Well, and talk about added value. I mean, so we don't speak of this a lot because there's uncertainty, but we can talk about the vision. And one of my initial visions with all of this was we very much want to when we get there to that stepping stone is take a percentage of our revenue from the event and be able to provide a cash flow, cash dispersal into companies with startup ideas. So you've got an individual with a great idea and a hell of a work ethic. Well, so 2 things happen. 1, if we're able to help them by giving them some startup money. 2, through the NoBull company, we have built these resources of contacts and people that have a wealth of knowledge that also are wanting to give back to the entrepreneurs and the startups with what they know.
Yeah.
And that was always part of our original intent, was to give back immensely to help the business community, to watch the economic needle move, and then see what the ripple effect is from there.
Yeah, and that's like John said, that's a very interesting. The very fine line for new companies that they have nothing. They're just starting out. The fine line of how much content and how much value to give away, perfectly balanced with the right ask to convert that value add into a customer. Like that you could spend an entire podcast, an entire show, you could have courses on that alone, like finding that sweet spot to convert free value that you give away to customers. How much is too much? How much is not enough? And where's the sweet spot to when you convert them into a, paying customer?
Yeah.
Paying client, whatever you want to call it. That finding that mark is like gold.
And it's super individualized because,
Right.
in my research on this topic a little bit and what other companies are doing, there was one out there that's was some like meat and veggies company that was about to close on $1.5 million in funding. COVID hit, funding dried up because the stock market took a hit, and a lot of that funding came from like stock wealth and VC fund or whatever.
Oh.
And she talked about her thought. She's like, my initial thought was, I felt bad for the company because they're like literally lost all their money, right? Like gone overnight. So she's like, I felt empathetic to them, even though like I was in a tough spot. Like I hadn't even launched my thing yet. Here's a company that has all their workflow and models and blah blah blah, and all of a sudden it's gone overnight. And so she's like, well, I just kind of sat back and took a lay of the land, reevaluated my business plan, reevaluated how I was going to start, and started to find some inefficiencies in my plan because I was thinking about how to survive in this COVID world. And so she decided to bootstrap, right? So probably a blessing in disguise.
Man.
Probably a blessing in disguise for her company, because she's going to learn how to grow a real company. You remember talking to the Beekman Bros?
Yep. Sure do. He was
Josh and Brent.
He was passionate about bootstrapping, and like, you take every dollar, you put it back in, and you make your next move.
Like I totally agree with him.
I do.
I mean, sure, there's certain businesses where you need funding.
Sure.
But at the same time, if it's possible to bootstrap, as hard as it might be, if you have $5 million dangling in front of your face of funding, go that route, because it will build a stronger company that can outlast
other people. And
things.
You're in control
this.
because if somebody gives you $5 million, guess what?
Yeah.
He or she who writes the check has the power.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that will always be true until the end of time.
Yep. All right, fellas, I'm out of coffee. How about you?
I'm out of coffee.
Yep, it's time for a.
I got one more sip left for our cheers.
Gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah. All right, let's close her out. So, as always, we are super appreciative for those of you tuning in, watching us on Facebook and YouTube, listening on any of the podcasting platforms. We absolutely love you. And don't forget, we will be back every Tuesday and Thursday at 8:30 p.m. On all of those channels. So don't forget to subscribe, follow us, and come over and talk to us on any of those social channels. Don't forget, we have our event coming up, NoBull Digital Workshop, September 17th, 2020, and our live events featuring Gary V, David Meltzer, and a host of other awesome speakers, April 8th, 2021. Head over to NoBull2020.com for more info. But now is the time when we cheers to life, love, lots of laughter, and floating in a pool on a really hot day. Because who the fuck doesn't like floaties?